Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I am here to tell you that as many predictions as I get wrong, and there are a few, there is a prediction I was incredibly bullish about, which is coming true. I told you that Scoop Up Net was broken, and that it was dumb good, and that it was going to break the expanded format. Well, over in Japan, Scoop Up Net is out, and it is proving to be broken and dumb good, and it is breaking their equivalent of the expanded format. You see, I got a message on Twitter from the lovely Code64X over on Twitter today, and he went, hey, Wassy, have you heard about this new Japanese donk deck that everybody's talking about? It gets turn 1 wins, and it's a little bit silly. And I've had a good look through the deck, and he's right. It is over the top, and it is a little bit silly, and it is going to cause a whole bunch of turn 1 wins. Now remember the new rules nowadays. When you go first on your first turn of the game, you're not allowed to attack and you're not allowed to play a supporter. But outside of that, yeah, there really isn't actually that much to do, which means you want to go second. And you want to hope that your opponent passes with one Pokemon active or a couple active that aren't that big. And then you start the combo. And it's all broken wide open by Scoop Up Net. And it's all about doing as much cheeky damage as you can possibly do without actually playing around too much with attacking. Although we do have an attack. We'll get to the attack in a moment. So how are we going about doing that cheeky damage? Well, one of the things we're using is the new Galarian Zigzagoon. The new Galarian Zigzagoon has an ability whereby when you play it from your hand onto the bench, you place 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Cool. But of course, Scoop Up Net, have I actually said what that does yet? It lets you pick up a non-GX, non-V Pokemon and put it into your hand, discarding any cards attached to it. And then, of course, you can play down Galarian Zigzagoon, and you get to do another damage. Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty good. So, you play a bunch of Galarian Zigzagoon, and you play a bunch of Scoop Up Net, and you get to just drop damage counters using Zigzagoon. Sounds good, but we can do better. You see, we've got Roxy. And Roxy is a supporter card that allows you to draw 3 cards for each Pokemon discarded from your hand. And if you up to 2, and if you discard a Coughing or a Wheezing, we're going Coughing here because it's easier to search out, then you get to place 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually. That sounds kinda good. So between Galarian Zigzagoon and Wheezing, we're going to be dropping a bunch of damage, and that's going to be alright. Is it enough? Well, the other thing we've got here that's really quite nice is we've got Absol. And Absol's very, 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 very cool. Absol basically lets you move 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of your opponent's Pokemon. So, if you're spreading damage around with Coughing, you can potentially move some damage to your opponent's other Pokemon. You may move 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of his or her Pokemon. So this lets you move it around, and that's pretty good. And that's largely where your cheeky damage is coming from here. We're using Galarian Zigzagoon, we're using Wheezing, we're using Scoop Up Net to reuse it, we're using Absol, bearing in mind Absol can also be reused with Scoop Up Net, and we're spreading a bunch of damage around. Sounds good. Okay. What are we attacking with? Because, like, most of the time, and there will be times, right, there will be games where you get to go first and drop a few Galarian Zigzagoon and actually donk your opponent, but that's going to be quite few and far between. Most of the time, this is a go second, try and donk kind of deck. Alright. So what are we attacking with? We've basically got 3 attackers that we're playing, and they're largely using GX attacks here. You see, we've got Necrozma GX, and Necrozma GX is one that we've all been using for quite a while at this stage. It got a lot of hype when it came out. It's got Black Ray GX. You do 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX. Oh. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Because if we think about all the consistency Pokemon that our opponent are likely to play, we've got things like Shaymin. We've got Dedenne. we've got Jirachi, we've got Tapu Lele, none of whom are big. So if you can spread a little bit of damage around and then drop this, you'll KO them all and win. Remember, on your first turn going first, no supporters, no attacks. Which means you've got item cards and abilities. So if your opponent goes first to try and avoid being donked, they are going to use stuff like Shaymin, Dedenne, Jirachi, Tapu. Oh, that's why we play Necrozma. Because Necrozma can basically smash all of these Pokemon, it's kind of hilarious. But that's only good against EX and GX Pokemon. What if they're not using EX or GX Pokemon? Say hello to Venusaur and Snivy. Free colourless energy, 50 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So if they're not using EXs and GXs, this will work nicely. Just drop 50 on all of your opponent's Pokemon. And it's not really 50 on all of your opponent's Pokemon time you build in Galarian, Zigzagoon, Coughing, etc. Usually this is played for the amazing ability, which is a gusting effect when you attach a grass energy to it. But it's very much worth pointing out here that it's irrelevant because you're not playing any grass energy. Now, the other one we play here is Lugia, and Lugia, again, is here for the GX attack. Although it is worth pointing out that if you fail with the donking, Lugia's got decent colourless attacks. Free colourless energy, 30 damage plus 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active. 4 energy, 170, can't use it next turn. And to be fair, right, if your opponent's only got one active Pokemon, 170 is pretty good. But you'll never use that, of course. Because if your opponent's only got one active Pokemon, what we're doing here, nice and easily, is the GX attack Lost Purge GX. And Lost Purge GX takes your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it, puts it in the Lost Zone. See where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen? Now, you've got all the cheeky damage to get rid of your opponent's bench, and then you've got one Pokemon left in the active, and it doesn't matter what Pokemon's left in the active, that's irrelevant, because you just go after it using Lugia. Oh yeah, that's actually kind of upsetting. Now, the one question we've still got to answer here is, how come we keep talking about free energy attacks? Well, it's easy. We've got double colourless energy, and we've got Tapu Koko Prism Star. And in a way, I like this because for a very, very long time, I've been talking about using Tapu Koko Prism Star to pay the attack cost of random free colourless energy Pokemon. Finally, people are listening. And that's it. You use a combination of Tapu Koko Prism Star and double colourless, that gets the energy on, you're good to go. Lovely. Now, in terms of other Pokemon here, it's just Shaymin and it's Jirachi, simple as that. The reason we play Jirachi over Tapu Lele is Jirachi can be used with Scoop Up Net, so if you start with it, which would be unfortunate, you can use Scoop Up Net to get it out the active. Shaymin lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand, it's not limited to once per turn, and Shaymin can be picked up with Scoop Up Net, so you should realistically be expecting to be using Shaymin multiple times during your turn. And between Shaymin, Scoop Up Net and Jirachi, you should get rolling quite nicely here. The only supporter card you're playing is Roxy, and you're only playing 2 copies of that, and you're only playing 2 copies of that in case one of them is prized. You are not expecting this game to last more than 1 turn. It is cheeky damage, and then either spreading with one of your GXs, or taking out their only active with Lugia. That's what you're doing. We also play 1 copy of Execute here. Execute's actually very important. Execute has got an ability Propagation that lets you put it from the discard pile into your hand. And the reason we've got that, very simply, is to make sure that we don't have to discard if we don't want to. We're going to see a few trainer cards that ask us to discard stuff from our hand. Sometimes we want to do that, but sometimes we're not going to be able to. Like, we want 1 lightning in the discard for Tapu Koko. Outside of that, we really don't. So this is our way of making sure that we don't have to. Now, in terms of the energy, you've got 2 lightning, 2 double colourless. You need 1 of each. That's all you need here. But we play 2 of each because of the whole prize issue. Now, moving into the trainer lineup here, and the trainer lineup, as with any weird combo deck, this trainer lineup is dumb and nuts, and I love it. Rotom Dex lets you count your prize cards, shuffle them into your deck, and put the same number of cards down as new prize cards. So, this is in case you've got too much prized. Yes, we've got some cards played as doubles for redundancy's sake, but you still need to have an answer just in case. So we play one of these, so if your prizes are really bad, you basically get to reset them. And this deck is built for full ball consistency. You are going all consistency all of the time. You are trying to get rolling. Like I say, you're not playing any other supporters. What we've got here, nice and simply, is 3 copies of Order Pad. Flip a coin, if heads, find yourself an item card, put it in your hand. Really good in this kind of deck. 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, find yourself a trainer card, and put it in your hand. Yeah, that's going to help you find your trainer cards. We've even got 3 copies of Battle Compressor here, and this is a little bit weird, potentially. Because you see, there's only 2 cards that you want to discard in this deck, unless I've missed something. You want to discard 1 energy for Tapu Koko, and you want to discard your Execute. But the reason we play 3 copies of Battle Compressor is to thin our deck. Once we've found ourselves double colourless energy, you don't need the other one, discard it. Discard both your lightning energy because you don't need more than 1. You're playing 2 Roxy, you can only play 1 of them, discard the other. And you use these to thin out your deck so that when you play stuff like Shaymin, the chances of drawing what you want are a little bit better. Now, we are playing Scoop Up Net in order to make sure that we're getting our Pokemon being reused. But that's not the only thing we play. Obviously, we play a full 4 copies of Super Scoop Up here, and it picks up any of your Pokemon on a coin flip. Now, to be fair, there's only the GXs, the 3 of those, 4 if you count both Necrozma, that you can't pick up with Scoop Up Net here. But you can only play 4 Scoop Up Net, and clearly you're playing 4 of them. And it shouldn't surprise anyone to learn here that our ace spec of choice is Scoop Up Cyclone. Lets you pick up any one of your Pokemon and put it into your hand. Well, yes, in this deck that's obvious. If you hit 4 heads on Super Scoop Up, that is 9 Pokemon that you get to pick up and put into your hand. That's a bit silly. Now, I should mention at this time that even though we've banned Puzzle of Time in our expanded format, Japan hasn't. They still do have 4 copies of Puzzle of Time. Yes, it makes the deck better, you can't deny that it does. But having said that, it's not essential to making the deck work. It's good for consistency, no one's arguing that it's not. But the fact of the matter is, you don't need them in here, the deck can function without it. It does make it a lot better though. Now, another card that is sneaky essential here is Skyfield. We actually play 3 copies of Skyfield. Again, you only need 1, but redundancies. And it's not just redundancy here, you need to draw it quickly. It's not good enough to just have it, you need to have it quickly. It gives you 8 bench spaces rather than 5. And you want to be playing down multiple Galarian Zigzagoon, multiple Shaymin, etc. Yes, obviously you can reuse them, no one's arguing that you can't reuse them, but you still need to play multiple so that you get more use out of them. Skyfield becomes absolutely essential here. Clearly, in terms of your Pokemon search, we've got 4 Ultra Ball, because it will search anything, and 3 Quick Ball, because it will search your basics. Wait, sorry, hang on a second. We're playing an entirely basic deck. Why are we playing more Ultra Ball than Quick Ball? To thin your hand. Remember, Shaymin lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. So it is absolutely in your best interest to make sure that you've got as few cards in hand as possible when you play Shaymin. We are playing Execute, so you can discard 1 fewer if you wish, but make no mistake about it, this is a deck, and we're going to separate here the people who win with this deck and the people that lose with it. Using things like Battle Compressor and Ultra Ball to really thin out your deck effectively and make the most of Shaymin is one of the biggest tricks you need when playing this deck. It is absolutely crucial. Outside of that, we've got 1 copy of Field Blower to get rid of any tools that may otherwise be thwarting us, or Stadiums. Let's say, for argument's sake, our opponent has played down a Parallel City, but we've not yet drawn into our Sky Field. We can use Field Blower to get rid of it until we get our Sky Field, and then we go from 3 to 5 to 8. Just one example of the kind of things we can do with this. And then we've got one copy of Target Whistle. Now, Target Whistle might seem like a really weird card here, and it is a really weird card. It's one of the ones that lets you get your, or one of your opponent's Pokemon from the discard pile and put it onto their bench. Why would we do this? Cheeky prizes. Let's say, for argument's sake, your opponent has discarded a Shaymin, and they've got, I don't know, 2 Shaymin on the field and a Pokemon you can't KO. Well, Target Whistle will bring a 3rd Shaymin, so you ignore the Pokemon you can't KO and you take out 3 Shaymin. And 3 Shaymin is well easy, right? 3 Shaymin is a Coughing and then GX attack from the Necrozma, boom, they're all gone. Or indeed, if they've got a Jirachi, you don't even need the Coughing. Or you could use this to take a cheeky prize. Maybe you grab something like a Joltik from their discard pile, KO it with cheeky damage in order to take a prize, and grab something important that was prized. It's a very weird niche kind of card, but it'll work out quite nicely. This is a weird deck. Here's the deck list as an actual picture. It's such a strange deck. And it really is built for one turn, right? I've said that Lugia's got attacks that can be used for the rest of the game, and that's true. But if we look, the only redundancies here, you know, you've got 2 of each energy and 2 Roxy, but really it's just in case one of them is prized. Now, if you're struggling to read that, here is a much easier way to look at the deck list, where it's just laid out by card and number. Shout out to the lovely Code 64X again for making this nice and easy for us. I was worried Scoop Up Net would be a problem, and it's not just Scoop Up Net, right? It's Scoop Up Net and Galarian Zigzagoon, it's Coughing. Anytime we got multiple Pokemon that can drop non-attack damage, cheeky damage as I like to call it, we've got a potential issue, but oh my goodness, this is fun. So much fun. Except it's maybe not, because it's, yeah. This could ruin the game. I guess we'll have to wait and see, won't we? For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this deck. I want to know if you think it's legit. I want to know if you think it'll work without Puzzle of Time. And I want to know if you're scared. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darn good regardless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.